A woman's changing sense of self. I think, Sister Denise, that very few individuals understand that they go through some sort of metamorphosis throughout their adult life.
Well, because, you know, at the very core of yourself, you're the same person, you know.
Yeah.
And so you may grow, you may mature, and there are differences externally, of course, but still your fundamental core is I'm the same me. If you think about it, you're still the same person you were at age 6 or 7, but life impacts us. And I think we have different needs, different aspirations, different feelings as we move through life. And life means something different to us at different stages. So yes, there is that change. But I think we're also talking in this program about a very different thing, which is like an epochal change.
What does that mean?
Well, the status of women, the condition of women is changing. On the one hand, there's energies, there's people trying to bring equality, parity, and so on among women and men. But on the other hand, women are starting to think of themselves in different ways, in a very broad way. Women are thinking, I can, rather than I can't. Women are opening up parts of themselves that they hadn't previously. And I think that there's been a lot of work over the last few decades which is asking women to live more full lives, to understand themselves in a more broad spectrum, and to give themselves opportunities and chances to develop that they had denied themselves previously.
Okay. Now, Sister Denise, I like the way you phrase that a woman experiences herself from the inside out, that she's essentially the same person. Why is it, though, so difficult to be able to see yourself in an objective manner? Where's the block there?
Well, women are very subjective people anyway.
Yeah.
And being subjective, being sensitive, being creatures of feeling, there's a lot of change that takes place, definitely. And, you know, the idea of seeing yourself objectively implies in something static. And I think a woman is constantly moving, constantly shifting. And so discovering oneself is a continual process. There's evolution going on constantly. And who you were, and who you are, who you will be, that's moving also. I think women don't really necessarily like being fixed, objective things, because I think there's a natural reaction to the objectification of women, which is the big problem in the patriarchal world. So a woman will assert, no, I'm subjective, I'm not an object, I'm a being, I'm mysterious. I want to stay mysterious. In a way, it's a defense, isn't it? You objectify me, but I'll still be mysterious, so that's not going to work.
Okay, so for many a viewer, when you wake up one day in your 30s, the sense of not recognizing who you are and not even recognizing your own life is a pretty scary set of circumstances to find yourself in.
Scary, maybe stimulating also. Who I was up to yesterday doesn't exist anymore. Now who am I? It's exciting. It gives you possibilities. It speaks to your creativity because you're discovering yourself, you're creating yourself. It's okay, now I'm 30, now I'm a grown woman, now I'm, how am I going to be this, So scary, but also stimulating.
Okay, so what does one stand to do in a situation like that where you have made choices in the past and now you didn't actually consider what the consequences were, and now suddenly in your 30s you're faced with consequences?
Well, you know, you have to take the rough with the smooth.
Yes.
And go with it and move on, you know. I think it's all about collecting your strength, isn't it? And keep always looking at what are my options. Even though as you continue in life, your options are getting less in many respects, but sometimes when you rethink yourself and you redefine your idea of what you are, you can open up more options. You may have a career change. A relationship may be finished and you were starting again from zero. I know in my life I've had to start again from zero many times. And one of the things I've realized is that you actually never start again from zero. You always start maybe differently, but you're always standing on the shoulders of what you had achieved, accomplished, discovered, and learned up until that time. So every major change in the life of a woman isn't necessarily that everything up until now just was no good and now we start. No. Everything up until now did what it was for, and now something new is emerging. And whatever had happened to me before, that prepared me for this. And so now let me do this. You know, one of the things we learn in spiritual practice is you're an actor and you're the star of your own show. And so
that is actually quite lovely. You're an actor and you're the star of your own show. Yeah, okay, go on.
So what kind of show do you want to be the star of? You know, you could create it. You see, you have a lot more possibility than maybe you permit yourself to. I think that's part of the changing sense of self that women have, that, yeah, I can impact my life much more. I'm not just limited as I thought I was.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because this brings me to my next question. Why is it so difficult for men, but especially women, to come to the understanding that I determine my own experiences? Why do we assume that we are but a yacht on an open ocean and life will take us where it will? We steer to some extent, but we tend to give ourselves over to what life makes us. Why is self-determination so difficult for someone to grasp?
I think a little bit it depends on the culture. You know, there's some cultures where self-determination is the only thing there is. And other cultures, it's all destiny, you know. And we have to realize that there are some forces operating on us which are outside our control. Now in spirituality we again talk about karma, karmic accounts, and there's that force. And then you have your own will, your own free will, you have your destiny, you have a lot of components which are kind of invisible, but in spiritual practice you are able to feel them more overtly because you develop your intuition, and then you are able to work with the forces in such a way that they work for you rather than against you, you know?
Sister Denise, it does take a certain amount of courage to be able to grasp the steering wheel of your life, doesn't it?
Well, I think we need to say being a woman and being courageous has to be the same thing. Being proactive, taking up, doing what is possible, and then whatever is not, then you have to say, okay, that's out of my range, there's nothing I can do, let go, and when you can, take the reins and never set aside your courage.
Yeah, I find it odd that women find it easier to be strong or tough for others, but they do not find it easy to be strong for themselves.
I think that's part of the message that we receive, which says that you're not important, you exist for others. It exploits a woman's natural tendency to care for others, to defend others, to protect others. And so that skewing of the balance is because of the socialization and the what I sometimes refer to as the toxic conventional morality, because it says to a woman it's bad to do that. It's not bad, it's just one more option. Who says it's bad?
What is your definition of courage? And the reason I'm asking this is because you define everything differently from what the viewer has heard it before, and myself.
Well, you know, I think you're in the face of fear. You have fear of something or lots of things, whatever. And usually we think that fear is a weakness, but to me fear is just a given. Life can have lots of scary things in it, no doubt. Now when you're faced with fear, your own fear, fear of something, whatever it is, you have two options. You can either take a step of courage and go with it, or you take a step of cowardice, which means that you lose your self-respect. So, you know, taking a step of courage, you have to get some experience that when you do take a step of courage, you get a divine assistance. And once you've experienced that one or two times, then you come to know that that's a reality, and that you just move forward with courage, and that's that. And you get through.